People of this country, join me and take the most civilized step any country has ever taken. And together, we will build the greatest health service the world has ever seen.
So we are in Tregear, where Nye Bevan started his political career. So this area here was where Nye used to hold big public meetings. All the different towns in his constituency, people could come, and then he would have these big public meetings and he would do these speeches, you know. And of course these stones, the memorial stones, weren't here then. They were put here after Nye died in 1960. But this central stone represents him, Bevan, and then each of the three other stones represent the big towns in the constituency. So I think that's Ebervale, that's Tregear, and then the one around there is Rumney. Can you imagine people all kind of like walking across the hillsides to gather here, coming from all the towns?
Wow.
It'd be amazing to hear the great man speak. Yeah. Hopefully not on a day where the weather was like this. Hopefully it was a little more clement for them.
Beautiful scenery. Better than London's. Oh, wow.
Look at that. This is the actual council chamber where Nye Bevan sort of started his political career.
The story we're telling, we're performing on stage, it happened, it's real, it's a part of our history, and it's just nice to be in the place that these real people were.
This is like his gym that he started working out in, you know, all his political debating skills. He grows up where their father is a miner, and he watches his father die of coal dust in his lungs, that he doesn't get any compensation for it. The injustice he's seeing all around him.
Yeah. Nye was brought up in an environment where there was poverty, unemployment, death was usual, the normality.
Well, Nye and Arianwen were 2 of 10 children, only 5 of which survived. I mean, that says the kind of context that they were being born into.
And so that was the drive that Nye never stopped having.
He kept saying, I need to go where the power is to make change. And that drive and that resilience and that tenacity just launches him out into the world. And then he's off to Parliament. And, you know, he was the youngest cabinet member in the post-war government.
Like, how many times could one just have given up? You know, I just think to keep going, that's exhausting. But he did. The constant unwavering for other people, not just himself, it's beautiful.
Incredible determination and doggedness. And it took those qualities, I think, to actually bring about the NHS. It's only someone who'd been on that journey who could have done it, I think.
Yeah.
But also, you know, he was known for being this great orator. He has this stammer that you know, really affected him and influenced him for the rest of his life. You wouldn't have thought that this was a man who was going to be a great orator. He could command thousands of people, you know, with his speeches. That journey from being a teenager working down the mines himself, to then becoming someone who changed everything. And we're still living in Nye's world, really. That journey wasn't available to anyone. And yet he kind of forced his way through. It took someone of his kind of resilience and determination and bloody-mindedness, the sort of bloody-mindedness that he would have shown in this room, I guess, to make it happen, to fight the opposition party, people within his own party, British Medical Association, all these obstacles, and yet somehow he kind of dragged it, kicking and screaming, into the world.
I think one thing that stood out to me in researching about Nye and his world was that his passion for human dignity, that everyone is equal. As a human, it is your human right to be cared for, hence the NHS.
It's very easy to take it for granted now, isn't it, what the NHS is?
Definitely.
One thing when we're doing the play that always strikes me is that it's really important for people to be reminded, myself included, like what it was like before the NHS, because there's no one really around anymore who really remembers that. And it was a very, very different world. And that's part of the problem, I suppose, is that it's a victim of its own success. It had such an effect on us that it's hard to really know how difficult and how awful the situation was before, and he sort of changed all that.
It's so hard to imagine what it was like before. And it was only doing the research for the play that I realised just how dire it was.
It's such an intrinsic part of
Yeah.
all our lives, doesn't it?
That's the thing, it affects everyone. We're all affected by what he did, even when we don't realise. We're so affected by the changes he made.
The experience of doing the play, for me, is such an extraordinary kind of kaleidoscope. You know, I'm bouncing around from being in bed in my pajamas to making a kind of, you know, real firebrand speech in the House of Parliament, to singing a song with, you know, dancing.
It's really moving being on the other side, just watching your journey as Nye progress through the play. Ariane Wen can see all the goings on as a sister-sibling relationship. It's more of an honest one. It's one where you can be blatant and honest and real and raw to each other, and it will never hurt as much as it, you know, as criticism may come from outside of that. So there's an honesty there that they can get to the heart of each other, I think.
It really means a lot to people to experience this story, and it feels like a real privilege and an honor to tell it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't want to give you relief. I don't want to help you survive. I want to give you a dignity.